The boy with the quiet heart. It was a cold morning in a small town just outside Los Angeles. The streets were still waking up. Birds were hopping along the sidewalk, picking at crumbs from yesterday. The sun had just begun to rise behind the hills, casting a soft orange glow on the houses that lined the streets. And right there, sitting on the edge of the curb outside a modest bakery, was a boy named Elijah. Elijah was 12. He had deep brown eyes, the kind that looked like they carried stories too heavy for someone his age. His shoes had holes, and the sleeves of his jacket were a little too short, but he never complained. His mom worked 2 jobs, and his dad, well, he hadn't been around in years. But Elijah was strong, not in a loud way, not the kind of strong people clap for. He was quietly strong, the kind who held the door open for strangers and gave his sandwich to a hungry classmate without a second thought. That morning, Elijah was doing what he always did before school. He collected bottles and cans. He'd go up and down the streets with a torn-up bag, picking up what others left behind. It helped his mom a little, sometimes just a few dollars, but to him, it meant everything. As he reached the alley behind the bakery, something caught his eye. Near a trash bin, it wasn't a bottle, it wasn't even garbage. It was something small, round, and shiny. At first, he thought it was a toy, but when he picked it up, his hands began to shake a little. It was a watch. Not just any watch. This one felt heavy, like it was made of real gold. The leather strap was worn, but the face of it still gleamed. The time on it was still ticking, and engraved on the back were the words, "To KR, time is a gift, never waste it." Elijah whispered, "Who would throw this away?" He looked around. The alley was empty. There were no security cameras, no cars passing by. Just him, the wind, and the soft hum of the city waking up. He didn't know who KR was. He didn't know anything about watches either. But something in his chest told him this was not meant to be lost. Instead of putting it in his pocket and walking away like many kids might, Elijah did something different. He ran home, breathless. He burst through the door, holding the watch tightly like a treasure. His mom, who had just come back from her night shift, looked up from the couch. "Mama, look what I found." She sat up, tired eyes widening. "Where did you get that?" "Behind the bakery. It was just lying there." She took it from him gently and turned it over. Then her brows furrowed. This looks expensive, baby. Maybe it belongs to someone important." He nodded. "I want to return it, but I don't know how." His mom gave him a weak smile. "You did the right thing by not keeping it. Now let's find out who it belongs to." They didn't have a computer. They didn't even have Wi-Fi. But Mrs. Ramirez, their neighbor, let them use her phone. She was kind like that. Elijah showed her the watch, and she took a photo of it, uploading it to a community lost and found page. Then she helped them post on social media with the message, "Found this watch near Delmer Bakery this morning, engraved with initials KR, please share. We want to return it to the owner." It wasn't much, but it was a start. Hours passed, then a day, then 2. No one responded. Elijah brought the watch to school to ask his teachers if anyone had reported something missing. They hadn't. One kid even laughed and said, "Why would you return something like that? If I found it, I'd sell it." Elijah didn't answer. He just wrapped the watch back in the cloth and kept it close to his chest. But what he didn't know was that the watch had already started something. Across the city, in a quiet suite at the top of a hotel, Keanu Reeves sat with his head in his hands. He looked different than the man people knew from movies. He was tired. His eyes were red, and something was missing from his wrist. His assistant knocked gently. No sign of the watch yet. "Keanu," he sighed deeply. "I shouldn't care so much. It's just a thing. But it was a gift," she said softly, "from your mom." He nodded, swallowing hard. "And it's the last thing I had from her." His assistant looked at him for a long moment, then said, "Maybe someone found it. Maybe someone good." He gave a small smile. "Maybe." What no one expected was that the post Mrs. Ramirez made on a tiny page with barely any followers was quietly spreading. A retired journalist saw it. He used to write for the Times and had a thing for unusual stories. Something about the message tugged at him. He reposted it with the caption, "A boy found a mysterious watch engraved to KR in East Law. Anyone missing something precious?" That one post lit the spark. Within hours, comments flooded in. Some people joked, some made wild guesses. But then someone said, "Didn't Keanu Reeves lose his watch a few days ago? He was spotted near that bakery filming something." Someone else replied, "I saw him there last week. He was super humble, even bought coffee for the whole crew." Suddenly, the pieces started to connect. Elijah had no idea what was happening online. He was on his way home from school when a fancy black car pulled up beside him. The window rolled down and a woman with curly brown hair leaned out. "Are you Elijah?" He blinked. "Yes. I'm from a company called Summit Films. Can we talk for a second?" He froze. "Am I in trouble?" She smiled. "Not at all. Someone would like to thank you." And that was the beginning. That night, everything changed. The unexpected meeting. The black car moved slowly through Elijah's neighborhood, passing rows of old houses with chipping paint and clotheslines swaying in the breeze. Elijah sat in the back seat, his knees pressed together, fingers nervously fidgeting. He had never been in a car like this before. The seats were soft, and the air smelled like something expensive, like leather mixed with quiet music. The woman in the front introduced herself as Vanessa. She was calm and polite, but Elijah could tell something important was going on. He kept asking, "Where are we going?" But she would just smile and say, "You'll see." After about 30 minutes, the car pulled into the back entrance of a hotel. It was huge, shining glass windows, tall palm trees, and a golden revolving door. Elijah looked out the window and whispered, "This place is bigger than our whole school." Vanessa parked and opened the door for him. "Don't worry," she said softly, "just be yourself." They walked through a quiet hallway with carpet so thick it felt like clouds under Elijah's shoes. A security guard gave him a nod and held open a private elevator. As the doors closed, Vanessa glanced at Elijah and asked, "You know who Keanu Reeves is?" Elijah thought for a moment. "I think my mom watches his movies. He's the guy who fights people, right?" Vanessa laughed. "Yeah, but there's more to him than just action scenes." Before Elijah could ask what she meant, the elevator dinged. They stepped into a room that looked more like a cozy apartment than a hotel suite. Couches, bookshelves, even a little kitchen. And there standing quietly near the window, holding a cup of tea, was Keanu Reeves. He turned slowly, and for a moment, time felt like it paused. Elijah stared, not because he was starstruck, but because the man's eyes looked familiar, gentle, thoughtful, almost sad. Keanu gave a small smile. "You must be Elijah." Elijah nodded slowly. "Yes, sir." Keanu walked forward and crouched to Elijah's level. He held out his hand. "I think you found something very special." Elijah reached into his backpack and pulled out the watch. He had wrapped it in a clean sock to keep it safe when he handed it over. Keanu held it like it was something holy. "I've had this watch since I was a teenager," Keanu said quietly. "My mother gave it to me before she passed away. I thought I'd lost it forever." Elijah looked down. "I didn't want to keep it. It didn't feel right." Keanu's eyes watered. He didn't hide it. He didn't pretend to be tough. He just nodded and said, "Thank you, Elijah. You didn't just return a watch. You brought back something I thought I lost a long time ago." Vanessa stepped forward, gently placing her hand on Elijah's shoulder. "You know, Elijah," she said, "most people wouldn't have done what you did." Elijah shrugged. "It wasn't mine." Keanu stood up and looked at Vanessa, then back at Elijah. "I want to do something for you," he said, "not because I owe you, but because your heart reminds me of something this world needs more of." Elijah blinked. "Like what?" "Kindness," Keanu said, "and courage, the quiet kind." They sat together on the couch. Keanu asked about Elijah's life, his school, his mom, his dreams, and Elijah, slowly, began to open up. He talked about how he liked drawing, even though he didn't have sketchbooks or pencils. He talked about his mom's long hours at the diner and how sometimes, when they didn't have enough for dinner, he'd pretend he wasn't hungry. He didn't say it to complain. He just said it like it was normal. Keanu listened without interrupting. He didn't pity Elijah. He respected him. Then something unexpected happened. Keanu pulled out a small notebook from his bag. It was full of sketches, rough, powerful, emotional. "I draw too," he said. "When I was your age, I used to hide in the library and draw for hours. It helped me feel things when I didn't have words." Elijah looked at the drawings, eyes wide. "These are amazing. Yours will be too," Keanu said, "if you keep going." That night, Keanu did something even more surprising. He called someone, a man named Martin, who ran an art center for kids in East La. "I want Elijah to have a scholarship," Keanu told him. "I'll cover everything, supplies, classes, transportation, whatever he needs." Elijah didn't fully understand what that meant yet, but his mom cried when she heard. And for the first time in a long while, she cried not from stress or fear, but from something else. Hoped up the next day. Pictures of Elijah and Keanu were all over the internet. Headlines read, "Boy returns lost watch to Keanu Reeves. Gets life-changing gift in return." People called Elijah a hero. They praised his honesty, his courage, his heart. But Elijah didn't care about being famous. What mattered to him was something simpler. The feeling he got when he did the right thing. When his mom smiled again. When he opened his first sketchbook with real pencils. When he walked into the art center and saw a room full of kids just like him, holding brushes, painting dreams. That watch lost in an alley had found its way back home. And in doing so, it had changed to lives forever. But this was only the beginning. Something deeper was still to come. Because one evening, weeks later, a letter arrived at Elijah's door. No return address, just a seal, and inside, a handwritten note that said, "Dear Elijah, you may not know this yet, but there's someone else who needs you now. Someone I once failed to help. If you're willing, I'll tell you everything." K.R. Asterisk the letter, and the lost Elijah stared at the letter. In his hands, it wasn't just paper. It felt heavy, like it carried a weight that couldn't be measured. The handwriting was clean and strong, and the initials at the bottom, K.R., made his heart race a little. His mom stood behind him, drying her hands on a towel. "What does it say, baby?" Elijah read the letter aloud, his voice quiet. "Someone else who needs you now. Someone I once failed to help. If you're willing, I'll tell you everything." His mom placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "You don't have to say yes, you know." Elijah looked up. But what if someone's in trouble? That night, Keanu came by their apartment. No camera crews, no bodyguards, just a cap on his head and a box in his hands. He sat at their small kitchen table, across from Elijah, and opened the box. Inside were old photographs, folded letters, and a wrinkled sketch of a young boy with wild hair and sad eyes. Keanu took a deep breath. "His name was Jesse," he began. "He was about your age when I met him. I was filming a movie downtown, and he was always hanging around watching from the edge of the set." He paused. "I learned he was living on the streets. No parents, no family, just surviving." Elijah leaned in. "Did you talk to him?" "I tried," Keanu said, eyes lowering. "But I was busy. I kept thinking I'd talk to him tomorrow. Buy him a meal tomorrow. Help him tomorrow. But tomorrow never came." His voice cracked. "One night, he disappeared. We searched for him for weeks, but he was gone, and I've never stopped thinking about him." Elijah was silent. The air in the room felt still, like it was listening. Keanu continued. "A few days ago, someone sent me a message, said they saw a boy matching Jesse's description, now older, maybe 17, wandering near an abandoned rail yard in Eastmont. Confused, angry, and in trouble." "You think it's really him?" Elijah asked. Keanu nodded. "I don't know, but something tells me it's connected. And this time, I don't want to be too late." "Why me?" Elijah whispered. Keanu gave a soft smile. "Because he won't talk to me, but he might talk to someone who reminds him of who he used to be. Someone honest, someone kind." Elijah looked at his mom. She didn't speak, but her eyes were full. After a moment, she gave a tiny nod. "Okay," Elijah said. "I'll go." The next morning, Keanu, Elijah, and Vanessa drove out toward Eastmont. The city looked different here, more broken, more forgotten. Cracked sidewalks, boarded up shops, graffiti on every wall. It was the kind of place people pretended didn't exist. They parked near the edge of the rail yard. Keanu handed Elijah a small pouch. Inside were snacks, a flashlight, a prepaid phone, and a worn photo of Jesse as a kid. "He might not trust you," Keanu warned. "He might even run. But don't try to save him. Just talk to him. Be real. That's what matters." Elijah nodded. "I'll try." He walked into the yard alone. Rusted train cars sat quietly like sleeping giants. Trash blew across the gravel. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barked. Elijah took slow steps, eyes scanning every shadow. He heard it before he saw it. A shuffle. A coughed up behind an old shipping container. There he was, a boy, barefoot, tangled hair, layers of clothes that didn't fit. He was crouched beside a small fire, holding a piece of bread like it was gold. His eyes met Elijah's, and for a moment, neither moved. "Who are you?" the boy snapped. "I'm Elijah," he said softly. "I came to talk." "Go away." Elijah stepped closer. "You Jesse don't know any Jesse." Elijah pulled out the photo. "You sure?" The boy's eyes flicked to the picture, then away. "What do you want?" he muttered. "Nothing." Elijah said, I think someone still cares about you. Nobody cares about me," the boy said sharply. "They say they do, but they always leave. Always." Elijah sat down on a crate across from him. "I don't have a dad. People left me too." The boy looked up, slowly, cautiously. "But my mom stayed," Elijah said. "And a guy lost his watch and I gave it back. Now we're here." The boy blinked. "You gave back a millionaire's watch?" "Yeah," the boy scoffed. "I would have sold it. I thought about it," Elijah admitted. "But it didn't feel right." There was silence. Then, quietly, the boy said, "I used to draw, like, with crayons, on boxes." Elijah smiled. "Me too." The ice began to melt. Elijah stayed for hours. They didn't talk about the hard stuff. They talked about music, superheroes, snacks they missed. They shared a bag of chips. And when Jesse finally said, "Okay, maybe that guy you came with can come tomorrow," Elijah's heart filled with something he hadn't felt in a long time, that purpose. He called Keanu that night. "He's not ready yet," Elijah said, "but he's listening." Keanu's voice cracked. "Thank you, Elijah." "Really?" But something unexpected happened the next day. When they returned to the yard, Jesse was gone. His fire was out. His things were scattered. And on a piece of cardboard was a single message scribbled in marker. "You brought the light. I'm going to find the rest of it." Elijah sat down, tears burning in his eyes. He left. Keanu put a hand on his shoulder. "No." He moved forward. "And maybe that's because of you." And in that quiet moment, surrounded by rust and dust, Elijah understood something powerful. Sometimes, helping someone doesn't mean fixing their life. Sometimes, it just means being there long enough for them to believe it's still worth living. The call that changed everything. It was a quiet morning in Elijah's home. Sunlight leaked through the curtains, warming the cracked floor tiles. His mom had just left for her early shift at the diner, and Elijah was sitting at the table, sketching with his new pencils, gifts from the art center Keanu had helped him join. He was drawing Jesse, not the broken version he first saw behind the rail yard, but the version he imagined Jesse could become: strong, confident, smiling, a version full of life. Then the phone rang. The prepaid phone Keanu had given him buzzed against the table. Elijah jumped. No one ever called it. He picked it up slowly. "Hello?" A deep voice answered. "Elijah, this is Martin. I run the East Law Youth Art Center." Elijah sat up straighter. "Yes, sir. We have a situation," Martin said. "A good one, but big. Can you come in today?" Elijah agreed, unsure what it was about. He grabbed his sketchpad, threw on his jacket, and ran out the door. When he arrived, the center was buzzing with energy. Kids painted murals on the back wall. Someone was playing soft piano inside. And Martin stood waiting for him by the door, holding a clipboard and smiling. "Come in," Martin said. "We have something to show you." They walked down a hallway and entered a quiet room. There was a long table, a projector, and 3 people in suits. Elijah paused in the doorway. Martin nodded to him. "Don't be nervous. One of the women smiled kindly. Elijah, we saw your drawings, and we read the story about you finding the watch, helping Jesse, all of it. We're from the Brentwood Arts Foundation, and we think you're something very rare. Elijah blinked. Me? Yes, she said. You've shown not just talent, but heart, and we'd like to offer you something. She handed him a letter. Heavy paper, a gold seal. Elijah opened it with trembling hands. Inside was a scholarship, full tuition for a summer art academy, one of the best in the country, in San Francisco. 3 months of lessons, supplies, mentorship, and a place to stay. He looked up, stunned. But why me? The man beside her leaned forward. Because you used your gift to help someone, not for fame, not for money, just because it was the right thing to do. Martin clapped a hand on Elijah's back. What do you think? Elijah's throat tightened. Can my mom come? The woman nodded. We've arranged for her to stay nearby. We'll make sure you're both taken care of. Later that night, Elijah and his mom sat on the roof of their apartment, watching the stars peek through the smog. You proud of me? He asked. His mom wrapped an arm around him. Baby, I've always been proud of you. But now the world sees what I've known all along. They didn't say much after that. They didn't need to. A week later, Keanu invited them to dinner. It wasn't in a mansion or a fancy place. It was a quiet little restaurant tucked in a corner of Silver Lake. Dim lights, soft music, warm bread on the table. Keanu stood as they walked in. Elijah, he said, smiling, you clean up well. Elijah grinned shyly. Thanks. They talked, laughed, and shared stories. And when dessert came, Keanu handed Elijah a small box. Inside was a watch, not gold, not shiny. It was made of wood and leather, simple and strong. Engraved on the back were the words, for Elijah, because time honors the honest. Elijah held it like a treasure. Keanu leaned closer. That's a one-of-a-kind, made by a friend of mine in Japan. It's not about the price, it's about the meaning. Elijah looked up. I'll take care of it. Keanu nodded. I know you will. Then Keanu turned serious. Listen, about Jesse. Elijah nodded, his chest tightening. We got a message yesterday from a youth shelter in Nevada. A boy checked in, gave his name as Jesse, didn't say much, but he left a note. Keanu pulled out a folded slip of paper. Elijah read it slowly. To the kid with the big heart, I'm still scared, but because of you, I'm going to try. Thank you. Maybe I'll see you again. Elijah closed his eyes for a moment, not to cry, but to breathe it in. The quiet victory. You helped him, Keanu said. Don't ever forget that. The night before they left for San Francisco, Elijah packed his sketchbooks, his pencils, and the wooden watch. He looked around his small room one last time. The cracked window, the poster of a rocket ship, the crooked lamp, the memories. And then he placed something on his shelf, a drawing he'd made of himself and Jesse, side by side, both holding torches in the dark. Because sometimes all it takes is one person with a light to help another find their way. But Elijah's journey wasn't over. Just as they were leaving for the train station, another envelope arrived at the door. No return address. Just a small note inside. Elijah, there's a girl who reminds me of you. She's in trouble, and I think you're the only one who can reach her, if you're ready. She's waiting. K.R. Asterisk. The girl behind the piano. The train rocked gently as it moved north toward San Francisco. Elijah sat by the window, sketchbook in his lap, head leaning against the glass. His mom sat beside him, dozing off with a blanket around her shoulders. The city lights faded into fields and hills, but Elijah's mind wasn't on the view. He kept reading the letter over and over again. There's a girl who reminds me of you. She's in trouble, and I think you're the only one who can reach her. K.R. He had barely left home, barely begun his new journey, and now Keanu had already asked him to help someone else. But deep inside, Elijah knew he couldn't ignore it. When they arrived at the academy, everything felt like a dream. Tall buildings with ivy-covered walls, big glass studios filled with light, music drifting through open windows, kids from all over the country, some even from other parts of the world. Every one of them had a story, a dream, a spark. Elijah was quiet at first. He wasn't used to marble floors or polished halls, but the teachers were kind, and the other students didn't laugh at his clothes or his accent. They welcomed him, and most of all they noticed his talent. On the third day, during lunch break, he wandered into the music wing. He wasn't supposed to be there yet, but he was curious. The hallway echoed with soft melodies. That's when he saw her, a girl, maybe 12 or 13, sitting at a piano. Her hair was messy, her shoulders hunched. She played like she was trying not to feel anything, but the music betrayed her. It was sad, not loud sad, quiet sad, like someone holding back tears for too long. Elijah stood at the door, frozen. Then she stopped playing and looked up sharply. "What are you doing here?" "Sorry," Elijah said quickly. I heard the music." "You're not supposed to be in here," she snapped. "I'll go." He turned to leave. "Wait," she said, softer now. "You're Elijah, right? The boy who found the watch." He paused. "How do you know?" "Everyone does," she said, looking away. "They talk about you like you're some kind of saint." He shifted uncomfortably. "I'm not." She didn't respond. He looked at the piano bench beside her. "Can I sit?" She shrugged. They sat in silence for a moment. Then she whispered, "My name's Ivy." "You play really well," Elijah said gently. She didn't answer. Instead, she placed her fingers on the keys again and played something soft, something uncertain. Then she stopped. "My mom taught me, before she got sick." Elijah nodded. "My mom's all I have to." Ivy looked at him for the first time, really looked. "Keanu sent me," Elijah said, barely above a whisper. Her eyes widened. "What?" "He told me there's someone here who's hurting. Someone like me." He said maybe I could help. Ivy turned her face away. "I don't need help, okay," Elijah said simply. "But maybe you just need someone to sit with." You. That was the beginning. In the days that followed, they didn't talk much, but they kept meeting at the piano room. Ivy would play, Elijah would draw. They didn't push each other. They didn't ask too many questions. But one afternoon, Ivy broke the silence. "I hate this place," she whispered. Elijah looked up. "Everyone here's rich, or talented, or perfect," she said bitterly. "I'm none of those." Elijah didn't argue. Instead, he turned his sketchpad around and showed her a drawing he had made. It was of a piano, cracked in the middle, but still glowing. "It's you," he said. She stared at the page. Her lips trembled. "Even cracked things can shine," he added softly. Ivy closed her eyes and let the tears fall. Later that night, Elijah got a message from Keanu. "You found her." Elijah replied, "I didn't do anything yet." "Yes, you did." Keanu wrote back, "You showed up." Over the next few weeks, Ivy changed. Slowly. She laughed once, just a small laugh, but it was real. She showed Elijah a song she had written. He showed her his drawings. They walked the academy halls side by side, to quiet kids with heavy hearts, learning to breathe again. One day, Ivy asked, "Do you think broken people ever get fixed?" Elijah thought about it. Then he said, "I don't think we're broken. I think we're just healing." "How do you know?" "Because we're still here." That night, Ivy wrote a song. She titled it Still Here, and she played it at the student showcase. Her fingers shook, her voice cracked, but she finished, and when the last note faded, the room exploded in applause. Elijah stood backstage, eyes full. After the show, Ivy found him. She was shaking. "I've never done that before," she said. "You were amazing," he whispered. She handed him a folded piece of paper. "I wrote this for you." Elijah opened it. It was a note. "Thank you for sitting with me in the dark." He smiled. "You don't have to thank me." "I know," Ivy said, "but I wanted to." That night, Elijah got another letter. This one wasn't from Keanu. It was from Jesse. Handwritten. "Dear Elijah, I found a shelter that teaches boxing. They said I'm good. I think I want to help kids like me someday. Also, I met a girl who reminds me of you. Stay real." Jesse. Elijah folded the letter and placed it inside his sketchbook, right next to Ivy's. His story was changing but not ending, because the next morning, the director of the academy called him into her office. She slid a brochure across the desk. "International Youth Peace Conference. Nominated delegate, Elijah Jamas." Elijah looked at her. Stunned, "You've become more than an artist," she said. "You've become a voice." But before he could speak, a staff member rushed in. "You're not going to believe this," they said. "Keanu Reeves is outside. He says he needs to talk to Elijah." Now, Elijah's heart thudded, because when he stepped outside, Keanu was standing by a black car, holding something in his hands. His face was pale, serious, and in his voice was a tremble Elijah had never heard before. "Elijah," he said, "it's about your father." The truth about his father Elijah stood frozen. The afternoon sun warmed the academy courtyard, but he felt cold, like someone had opened a door to a storm. Keanu Reeves stood a few feet away, holding a small folder in his hands. His eyes were soft but serious, his voice low. "Elijah," he said again, "it's about your father." Elijah blinked slowly. He hadn't heard that name in years. His father was a shadow, a ghost, someone who left one day and never came back. Someone his mom never talked about, not because she was hiding something, but because the silence hurt less than the memories. "You knew him," Elijah whispered. Keanu nodded. "I didn't realize it at first, but when I heard your full name, when I met your mom, pieces started to come together." He stepped forward and held out the folder. Elijah hesitated, then took it with trembling hands. Inside were newspaper clippings, a few photographs, and a letter. The first photo showed a young man, strong jaw, deep eyes, warm smile. Elijah gasped. "That's him." Keanu gently placed a hand on his shoulder. "His name was Darius James. He worked security for one of my film sets. Quiet guy, smart, didn't talk much, but when he did, people listened." Elijah's eyes widened. "You knew him from work?" "Yes," Keanu said. "He once stopped a man who tried to sneak onto the set with a weapon. He didn't brag, just did what he had to do." Elijah flipped through the pages until he found the letter. It was old, yellowed with time. "Addressed to my son, if you ever read this." His hands shook as he opened it. "Dear Elijah, I don't know if you'll ever see this. I left because I thought I was protecting you and your mother. I made some mistakes, got into trouble with some dangerous people before you were born. I thought if I disappeared, they wouldn't follow. I never stopped loving you. I watched you grow from far away. I saw your first day at school, your birthday at the park. You always had that light in your eyes. I'm sorry for the silence. I hope one day you'll understand. Love always, Dad." Elijah couldn't breathe. His chest felt like it was caving in, like all the questions he had asked in the dark were finally being answered, but not in the way he expected. "Where is he now?" Elijah asked softly. Keanu lowered his head. "He passed away 3 years ago. Car accident. He was on his way to meet your mom. She never told you, because she didn't want to break your heart again." Elijah wiped his face. "She kept all this from me, not because she wanted to," Keanu said gently, "but because she wasn't ready." Elijah stood silently for a long time. Then he asked, "Why are you the one telling me this?" Keanu's eyes glistened. "Because Darius saved my life once. And when I met you, when I saw your courage, your kindness, I saw him. I saw the man who once stepped in front of danger for a stranger. And I knew I had to finish what he started." "Which was what?" Elijah asked. Keanu smiled through the tears. "To help his son become everything he was meant to be." The following week, Elijah returned home briefly before the peace conference. He sat with his mom in the kitchen, the old letter between them. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked. His mom's eyes filled with tears. "Because every time I tried, my voice would stop working. I didn't know how to explain the kind of love that leaves to protect you." Elijah hugged her tightly. "You don't have to explain anymore. I understand now." At the International Youth Peace Conference, Elijah stood in front of hundreds of students from around the world. Leaders, artists, and teachers watched as he stepped up to the podium. He was nervous. Then he looked down at his wrist, the wooden watch Keanu had given him. He took a deep breath and spoke. "My name is Elijah James. I come from a small street in East La. I used to think I was invisible, just a boy collecting bottles and drawing dreams in secret. But then something happened. I found a lost watch, and I returned it." He paused, and that moment changed my life. He told the story about Keanu, about Jesse, about Ivy, about his dad, and about how kindness didn't just help others, it helped him find himself. When he finished, the room was silent for a moment. Then came the applause. Not polite clapping, a standing ovation. Keanu was in the crowd, his eyes full, his heart open. After the speech, Ivy ran up and hugged him tightly. "You did it," she whispered. Jesse had sent him a video message that morning. "Keep going, man. You're the reason I'm still here." Elijah walked outside into the golden light of evening. And as he stood there, watching the sun sink behind the hills, a quiet peace settled in his heart. He had returned something priceless. But he had gained something even greater. A purpose, a voice. A name, not just the boy who returned the watch, but the boy who brought the light.